Shalom Chaim ben David, his neshama should have aliyah. We know that the days of Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur are coming up, and the Rambam brings an interesting halacha in Hilchot TESHUVA, halacha chapter 2, halacha 9. He says, repenting, right? The goal of selichot and everything we do on these auspicious days of Elul, I am to my beloved is to me, ani ledodi v'dodi li, and selichot and Rosh Hashanah and Kippur is to beseech the Almighty Creator for forgiveness and to repent and go back to our state of purity. Because every morning we say, Elohai neshama shenatata bi ta'orahi, right? God created us, put it right there. God created us in a very pristine and pure state, right? Because our neshama is a spark of Him. Teshuva is that, through the course of the year we get dirty through doing, we make mistakes. So Hashem wants us to get pure. Now, there's a fundamental difference between if you sin between you and God, okay, but if God forbid, the Rambam says here, you damage somebody or you hurt somebody's feelings, unless you go ask him personally, that, right, Reuven was disgraceful and stole or whatever, did some mistake between, to his friend Shimon, his neighbor Shimon, he has to go personally, verbally ask Shimon for forgiveness, or else he won't be forgiven. Now the Rambam says, for example, what is this example of? You went and punched somebody, right? You got into a brawl, you got into a fist fight, or you cursed somebody out, or you stole from him. You're not going to be forgiven unless you ask the person for what? Forgiveness. And even if let's say chas v'shalom, somebody embezzled, this happens daily, unfortunately. It was a bad business contract. It was a fraudulent business transaction. You stole $100,000 from somebody. Even if you gave $100,000 back, the Rambam says, you're not forgiven yet. You have to go to the guy and say, sometimes the stab in the back, because you guys were partners and friends, is worse than the money, which we're going to get to right now. So he says, you besides giving back the money, you have to say, do you forgive me? I'm sorry that, we were friends and we were partners. I became greedy, whatever. And he says, even if you just called your friend a nickname that he didn't like, or, verbally abused him, ONAT DEVARIM, still you have to ask him for forgiveness and get it out of his heart. Like, say, I apologize, please forgive me. Then the Rambam goes, if God forbid. Now, there's a very interesting Gemara in Bava Metzia that says an example of ONAT DEVARIM. There's something called being verbally abusive. There's two ways we could abuse people, the Gemara says. One is financially abuse them, like we said. You embezzle their money. Another way is to cause pain through verbally. Example of this, the Gemara says, is if somebody goes into a store, a retail store, which unfortunately, it's sad, a lot of our retail stores because of Amazon are dying, but it's good, when you go to these nice boutiques that are very unique, they have one-of-a-kind items, it's there's a certain, I hate to say it, but there's a certain beauty and pleasure in window shopping, like going to, one-of-a-kind stores, and it's locally made, you know what I mean? So let's say you go, the Gemara says, an example of causing pain verbally to somebody, which we read, we have to do TESHUVA on, and that's why I wanted to talk about it today, is you go ask somebody, how much is this item? And you have absolutely no intention of buying it. This is considered avera. This is a sin. This is considered ONAT DEVARIM, causing pain verbally, which is not allowed. Now, we want to understand 5 reasons why, and then Rav Chaim Kanievsky is quoted, Zatzal, we miss him so much, into why. Okay, so the Meiri explains why exactly, why is this something we need to do teshuvah? Why is it forbidden? If you walk into a store and you ask the guy, how much is this item? So the Meiri says something fascinating, which I wanted to say a deeper pshat in. The Meiri says the problem is like this. A lot of times, somebody's amused by a certain item. It's way out of his league, but he just wants to, unfortunately, you have no intention of buying it. So when the owner tells you, let's say it costs $100, So what do you yell out as a response? That's way too expensive, right? Now, if this remark is heard by others, the other people could, you also have to understand, you guys were born in the age of the internet. A lot of times, even till this day, a lot of businesses, it goes with verbal recommendation, right? That's what Yelp was. And so it says, people that are overhearing you yelling at the owner of the store that this item is too expensive, because obviously what's going on here subconsciously, you want to make yourself feel like a good guy. So why you not buying it, right? It's going to cause harm because people are going to say, wow, this store is too expensive, and they're going to take your business elsewhere. So the Meiri is actually fascinating, guys. It comes out according to the Meiri why this is sinful and we're not allowed to do that is because, first of all, you're wasting the guy's time. Second of all, right, there's three possibilities here. Either you're going to buy the item, you're not going to buy the item, but here, it's not only that you're just wasting the guy's time. By you yelling out, it's too expensive, other people that are within earshot are going to think, what? This guy is a gerun furush, right? He's a greedy, expensive store, and they're going to take their business, and you're going to cause a loss, actually. So it comes out, it's actually going to come up to be a financial loss. Now, there's a second explanation in the Meiri, which is actually very interesting also. And that is that the reason is when you start asking the price, and guys, I used to be in retail myself. A lot of times, retail has seasons, When it's a dry season, when it's not like the Xmas and New Year's, right? You get into dry seasons when a customer actually comes in, gives you a lot of hope, because the owner especially has to pay a lot of overhead, And what happens is when you're coming in, it's kind of like genevot da'at. You're misleading him. What happens is when you come and you ask the question, you're making believe that you want to buy the item. However, to ask knowingly. Now when you don't, you just walk out, you're causing the owner to have a little bit of a disappointment. So, don't worry, it's my brother. So, the Chofetz Chaim actually paskins this halacha. He says this is why it's asur to do. The issue over there is that by causing disappointment, and by causing disappointment, you're kind of like breaking the guy's heart, which is not allowed. Now the third opinion. The third opinion is the Rashbam. He says that by you, the Rashbam is hard to understand. The Sefer V'ahavta l'orecha kamocha explains it. It says by you going and verbally, saying, "Oh, I want to buy it," but you have absolutely no intention of buying it, and asking the price, "How much is this?" You're going to cause other potential customers to avoid buying the item. Now, how is that? So the Achronim explain like this. It could be explained in two ways. One possible way is that a lot of people are very bashful. They're not poru. So once they see, let's say it's a one-of-a-kind item, so, right? Basically, what's going on here is you're this reminds me of my son, right? People sometimes get bored. They have nothing better else to do. They want to go window shopping, right? So they know they have absolutely no intention of buying this item, right? So when they ask how much it is, another person that actually does want to buy it, that's right behind you in line, he says, okay, he walks out of the store because he says, okay, it's the last item in the store, and obviously it has this guy has first dibs on it, right? So again, what's basically happening is causing a financial loss because the second guy standing behind you thinks that, that you're negotiating, and therefore now that nobody ends up buying it, right? Because he's the first, and then the second guy also left the store because he sees you're negotiating. Or there's a second possible pshat that when again the you person, God bless my dad's soul, we're dedicating this shir to him. You can't cut yourself in half, right? The owner of the store or the one salesman, once he's investing all the time in you, right? And so the other people, especially in today's generation where everything is on Amazon, one click Prime, they're not going to wait around for half an hour till you're finished, doing all your fake negotiations and stuff. So again, the people are going to lose patience, and you're causing him, you're causing this the customers to go away, because basically he's giving you the attention that he should. You're a bogus customer, right? And he's giving you the attention that he should be willing to giving to who? To his real customer. The final way to understand this is the Ravid. The Ra'avad says that the reason why it's ONAT DEVARIM, if you don't want to buy an item, and you ask how much it is that a lot of times the guy, the owner of the store, is going to realize you were a troublemaker, right? Right? So then, when he goes to sleep at night, he's like, listen, this guy's wasted an hour, 10 minutes, whatever of my time, and he's going to kick himself, He's going to eat himself up that, I didn't make any sales today because I should have been smart enough to realize that this, customer was just wasting my time. So again, you're causing him emotional pain by doing that. Okay, so in conclusion, Rav Chaim Kanievsky says that if you want to go window shopping and you don't want to break halacha, these are the basic boundaries. If you're not interested in buying the item at all, you're not allowed halachically to ask the store owner how much the price is, right? We just gave 4 reasons why. Same thing by telephone. But if you give a disclaimer and say, I just want to know how much this cost, right? Then that's the owner's fault, right? If he's a shrewd and diligent and smart owner, he says, you just want to know the price? He says, listen, I'm sorry, I don't have time for you, right? So as long as you say those magical words, that becomes the owner's fault, right? And the issue over here is ultimately we don't want to frustrate the owner and waste his time that he was taken advantage of. So if you say that disclaimer that you just want to know the price, so the owner should be smart enough to, but again, another thing that we're not allowed to do halachically is yell at the owner that his prices are too high. Because we saw the reason behind this halacha is, and this is something we need to do TESHUVA on. If you did that to somebody, comes out that you need to go ask for forgiveness because you could have potentially caused them pain. You could have also, because one has to be very smart and shrewd when he, when you playing games with people and you yell at the owner of a store that his prices are too high, it could cause...
There's actual consequences.
There's consequences. People could think that this guy is a Geren Furush. This guy is, a very expensive store, and there's better deals to be found in other places, and you're causing him to lose customers. So Rav Chaim Kanievsky Zatzal says one should never do that. It's not the right thing. It's not halachically. You're causing the guy damage. And again, the overwhelming law of everything that Judaism is based on is love your neighbor as yourself. Just like you don't want people wasting your time. So don't go and ask the guy 20 different questions, because there's actually people that are serious about buying his items, especially cars, or the more expensive the item gets, there's more, details about it. Rav Chaim Kanievsky happens to say that a worker is different than the store owner. It's a much higher to cause onas devarim to a salesperson than the owner. since the owner is actually, the owner cares about the business much more. So a salesperson or a sales clerk, it may not be the smartest thing to waste your time and waste his time, but it's not so pashut that you're going to be over, ONAT DEVARIM by asking how much the item is to a... It's therefore permitted to ask the price even without saying, I just want to know. As long as you don't ask too many questions or complain loudly about the price. So I just wanted to bring out something to end off the shir, because one of my colleagues once said, we want to always end the shir on a positive thing. So we just gave a whole shir of example of, potentially if you're window shopping and you have absolutely no idea of buying an item, it would be halachically onas devarim, right? You're causing emotional, verbal pain to people. But the Chavetz Chaim, actually, the last chapter of his is actually probably, it's a shame people learn the Sefer of Chavetz Chaim on Shmirat HaLashon. He has an equally important book about being kind to your fellow Jew. All the laws of lending money. It's a wonderful, wonderful book of the laws of tzedakah, the laws of chesed. It's called Ahavat Chesed. The last chapter of Ahavat Chesed, I just wanted to very shortly finish the shir with this, is the Chavetz Chaim brings about a dozen examples of how positively the Chavetz Chaim dedicated the last chapter of his Sefer Ahavat Chesed to this, that how positive speech, right? We just gave an example of what we're not allowed to do with our speech that's negatively harmful. But how do you... So he says, Chavetz Chaim gives a whole list of positive things we could do to our fellow Jew. One of them is learning Torah. A person could learn entire Shas and Poskim by himself, but that's not Torah Chesed, right? And Rav Moshe Feinstein Paskins, the same way you have to get 10% of your money to learn nowadays especially, we have 80-90% of Jews are not religious, or Am Haaretz. One should give 10% of his time to learn with other Jews. There's two different things. There's a Torah and there's Torah Chesed. So instead of wasting people's time and window shopping and frustrating people, right, and not letting the guy make a living, the Chavetz Chaim says what should we do with our speech, right, is to learn with your fellow Jew. And nowadays it's easier than ever. You could do it over the phone. My wife has 2-3 chavrusas over the phone. Another thing is that if you know two people are upset at each other, it's a wonderful thing to use your speech to make shalom between them. Like Yosef told the butler, which actually forgot him, he said, do chesed to me. Tell Paro that I don't belong here. Tell, and it's amazing that the next case actually is very interesting. He says that if you overheard a bunch of unscrupulous people, dozed, people that are chas v'shalom looking to defraud somebody. First, this is very interesting. The Chavetz Chaim says you should tell these people, like, let's say you overhear a bunch of people say, oh, this guy's a high roller, he has a lot of money, let's go, somehow embezzle and take some of his money. So Chavetz Chaim says it's a mitzvah with your mouth to go tell them this guy's poor. No, he's not a good candidate for you guys to go fraud him, right? Defraud him. He doesn't have money. And for sure, if you're able to warn the person that they're coming out, people want to, come and fraud you, it's, watch out for these crooks. That's not Lashon Hara. That's actually a mitzvah. That, give the person, that's the whole reason we fast, by the way, in a few weeks on Som Gedalia, because one shouldn't be too saddik and, take the warning signs. So the bottom line is the Chavetz Chaim ends his sefer with these two ideas of what we can do positively with our mouth is for sure pray for other people that are sick. It's a tremendous chesed that we could do with our mouth, whether they're sick or they have other problems. Let's say the guy's going through a nasty divorce, or the guy has financial problems. with our mouth, we can build up people. We could, the Gemara says that if you give money to a poor person, you're blessed with 6 blessings. But if his heart is broken, he's depressed because he's so poor, he's destitute, but you cheer him up, you get 11 blessings, right? So Hashem should help us that we should use our verbal capacity to bring light and goodness into the world, rather than, like we said in the beginning of this year, to frustrate people and, try to, make them think that the poor guy's going to make a buck. And then for all those different reasons we said, 4 different pshatim why, but, when in the end of the day, when you don't end up buying the product, the guy wasted his time and life. And now, he feels that you wronged him. So, B'Shem Hashem Na'aseh V'Nasiach, we should do Teshuvah Shelema. Amen.
Amen.